Here's the thing. Sometimes, especially because of how names work, like I'll give you an example. I personally think the name FaZe Clan has trapped analysts and people on the internet a million times for the last 2 years. Because since in your brain, FaZe Clan has to be a top team, if you even see a group drawn, it's like FaZe Clan, Astralis, G2, you're like, oh my God, it's the group of death. It's like, actually, that might be totally appropriate if we go and look at the seedings. Like, one area I think people are really stupid is, be very careful about calling ESL out on their seedings, because the last few years, they've been killing it. Like, they're actually doing a very good job. They tend to go off world rankings. Like, they're not hacking it like they used to back in the days where, you know, they want Cloud9 to make the play. They're not doing any of that shit anymore, guys. But here's one thing, right? I test be damned. If I open up HLTV.org right now, Lurpus, and I go down, just going down here, 26th best team in the world is Nemiga from Belarus, right? I stop right there. I press the X in the little corner of the thing, and I don't need to watch anymore. Like, I don't know. And by the way, this is where an idiot's going to go at this, Lurpus. Yeah, but they are 26 because of their placings in these. That's what we're seeing. That's what we're saying. That's the point. The way the system's done at the moment, because everyone can't all meet together and they can't all meet together online and all the regions can't play. By the way, the region splitters fucked those rankings so hard it's unreal. So hard. That's why if you're an NA team, you can be 200th and you win like 5 games. That's an exaggeration, obviously, but like, it's like he jumps 80 spots and then I was like, what is this ranking system, guys? Like, this is nonsense. Like, I can't just win one match in tennis and just go like, whee! It's like, oh, all right, Federer, I'm behind you now, mate. Like, what is this? Like, as you say, the problem is this. Because online is this mysterious black box, that's what it was like, I guess the results are real. You're taking an I guess and building an assumption on that, and then you're inviting people to the next I guess tournament off the assumption, which then produces some fucked results, which then Heroic beats Astralis, and the system goes. Remember, I've always said this about rankings, it's the most on-point aspect. A computer cannot make the human qualitative judgment. He can only go off his rules. So if the computer sees, Heroic beat Astralis, he goes, Heroic's better than Astralis then. Like, he cannot go, yeah, but in a month, like, so the problem is, like, these rankings now, dude, we're in the twilight zone. Like, some of them are correct because some teams, they're like the team equivalent of Zewu and Simple. Like, they can do it. Like, Na'Vi, Vitality. Yeah, these teams can do it. But I'm with you, mate. Even these teams can lose, as you've seen, to almost anyone on the right day. And sometimes that was impossible on LAN. Like, you know, the teams that would always place top 8, top 4, like, that doesn't almost even exist now.
No, I think it really doesn't. I mean, just that I open up the world rankings when you mention it, and like, these are teams that are outside of top 9 currently. G2, Complexity, EG, Mouse Sports, Fnatic, OG, FaZe. None of those teams are in there. Meanwhile, we've got, and again, nothing against these teams specifically, but we got VP at 3rd, we got Gambit at 4th, we've got Spirit at 8th, and I suppose Big has actually kind of fallen off now. They're 7th. But it's just a lot of teams who have not really gotten the big offline wins. I mean, the VP core really has just made their comeback now since the Star Ladder Major.
I mean, mate.
Or I guess the Moscow Blast event right after, which I think was the sort of the end of that peak.
Even though, obviously, listen, I'll give Gambit their props for winning IEM Katowice. Look who they fucking beat to win it. They have to get props for that. But let's be real. You know, I do my own rankings, and I do it based on feel and what makes sense, and I evaluate, and I look at, like, what does this tournament compare to a 4th at this one, to a 2nd at this one? Right, if you click ranking detail for Gambit, who, by the way, are now ranked 4th in the world, here's what they have. Yeah, they won IEM Katowice. Then they played and didn't even make the finals of 3 DreamHacks. One was a Masters. That one's legit. That was the top 8. The others were semis at like DreamHack Opens. Then they had CIS tournaments, which they didn't even place top 5. I don't know how you're calculating it, but me and you had like a rankings meeting recently where we were consulting with people and trying to figure it out. Essentially, you can't use the circular logic of, well, I programmed the machine this way and it spit out these results. Therefore, well, the machine did that. It's like, no, you did that indirectly. So if at the end it spits out a result like Gambit is 4th best in the world, I think we need to have a look at that. We need to look into what went on. Because if I look below 4th, right, well, number 6 is Team Liquid, who was in the final of the Blast fucking global, the IEM Global Challenge or whatever, and they just made top 4 at this IEM. Like, listen, making a bunch of DreamHack Open like 3rd to 4th wouldn't put you above that probably in my ranking. Like, I'll have to go and do my ranking soon to see where this would be, but like, something's a bit off with this. I'm not saying use the eye test to do rankings, of course not, but like, something's askew. Like, I don't know how we can fix it though, because the problem is, here's the issue, right? especially because Na'Vi exists. You can't just say, sorry, CIS region, you can just never have any ranking points whatsoever, because sometimes Na'Vi is trapped there, like if it's an IEM. So you have to give them some points, but then the problem is, how many points do we give you? Because if you can just dominate a small region, Renegades is the obvious example, like, actually, I don't care how many of those tournaments you win, because if the second best team is so shit, I sort of do give you in my mind 0 points. And I know it's fucked, but that's why as a human, I'm not a computer, mate. I can just change my mind. So I don't know how we get out of this. Like, do you have an idea? Like for example, do we move to an ELO system or something? Like, what are even potential solutions? Are there any?
Well, I mean, I think ELO system is how you'd have to do it, but again, I think that actually amplifies the current issues in online
True.
play.
I guess they would be upsetting,
because then you're going off of every individual upset. By the way, here's another thing that I don't know how is currently being factored in the HLTV ranking. Could probably find out reasonably easily, but Vitality has 6 players. How are they getting their points adjusted? Astralis on paper, in theory, has 6 players. I guess for Katowice they had 7.
Yes.
Not that Bubsky has really played too much, but like this is like another factor that you somehow have to factor in. It's not necessarily clear to me how you would do it.
We should tie that to the other point, which is how ESL does it. ESLs is mental. If people don't know, ESLs, like HLT, you carry a percentage of the points or whatever. But ESL did probably the maddest one I've ever seen, which is you can just take those points with you. So as you pointed out when they first announced it, if someone had just made a team the next day where Guardian, who at the time was a washed up bomb and no one wanted, if he'd have joined like one of these teams, they would have like instantly been like 24th in the world or something mental because he had all Na'Vi's points, right? Listen, I agree. The weird thing about esports compared to sports is in esports, like the fucking box now, it's like if they just said, actually, we're just leaving Tampa Bay entirely as a team and we're just joining another franchise. Now, that is mad. But the problem here is you can't be doing it the other way of like, right, so if you took Tom Brady and then you took like, I don't know, fucking Travis Kelce, you had them, and then suddenly they're the number 1 ranked. Like, how would that make sense? Like, the team has never played a game. Listen, how can you rank a team that has never played a game of Counter-Strike together? Please, if anyone's watching, I'm just appealing to sanity. Just sanity, for God's sake.
Well, I think that the reason that people, in many ways, I think about this wrong, and like nobody's really kind of yet figured out, I think, how to really make sense of all the, first of all, like all the publicly available stats are just frankly bad and largely useless. Like you can highlight some of the obvious stuff, like how great Simple and Zaiwu are, for example, but beyond that, like you just lack a lot of the context. But the reason that I think a lot of the people have gotten into stats and then rely on them too much is because of Moneyball, right? But the difference is that baseball, you actually can model perfectly because it's actually a one-on-one game, just masking itself as a team game because of a team component. But everything individually, you actually can model really well one at a time. And that's one sport without the kind of interplay of the players on the field in a similar way at the same time. And that's why, that became the poster boy for all things analytics, and smart people have figured out ways to kind of make more use of that. So NBA is a good example with 3-point shooting and some of the other things that people are looking at. I think for frankly just the stuff that, to my knowledge, people generally look at in Counter-Strike, the stuff that's available that people are interested in, etc., just like means almost nothing for the most part.
Because the other option is the one that no one wants, but I'm not joking. I used to suggest it for fun and for my own selfish reasons, but I actually think, I'm not joking, this would actually really help Counter-Strike right now. Because listen, anyone who saw those viewing figures for that final, dude, that was depressing. I'm not hating on the teams. The teams have got to get theirs and they do what they do, and obviously in the future their fans will come. But the idea that the final was like lower than like 1 billion of the other fucking IEM finals before because it was 2 teams of CIS that no one cared about, and it wasn't Na'Vi, unfortunately, who were the ones who bring the CIS fans. Like, here's the problem, right? The only way you can solve that, it's evil. I have to not invite Gambit to the tournament. So what I'm saying essentially is you have to have Dana White. Now, I obviously suggested in the past, just make it me, mate. Like, I was even going to do this for Flashpoint when we were going to do some like invites. I even said, like, mate, I said to Monty, if you give me the power to do the invites, you are aware, like, unless VP like is just like hard, like top 8, I'll just not invite him and invite someone I prefer, like Fnatic, who I like the style and they have the players, you know, like, I'll just do it, mate, because at the end of the day, right now, especially during coronavirus, mate, we're not trying to only build a sport with integrity. There's plenty of tournaments doing that. We need a sport that's entertainment. This is an entertainment project. And so if people don't know, listen, Dana White has done some very unfair things. I can remember back in the day when George St. Pierre was the champion, and the second best fighter in the division at the time was a guy called John Fitch, and his problem was his style was also grind out wrestling, right? And he'd already fought GSP and lost in a boring ass wrestling match. So even though he won maybe like 6 fights in a row against like contenders and stuff, he was just never going to be allowed another title shot if GSP was the champion, because Dana White's logic was like, listen mate, unless you do something mental like win 20 fights in a row, like, this isn't a money fight. Like, I'm here to make money. I'm not here to just put on cool fucking fights, am I? So, as a result, Dana White, listen, he'll never fully admit it. He'll give up some other reason. You know, he's not marketable or so. You'll have some angle, you know. But, like, in the end of the day, he makes the money fights. And in Counter-Strike, we need those. We really do. Like, I made this point before. I made it as, like, an obscure point. But I think more than ever, this should have been E-League's focus from the beginning. You know when they did that Clash for Cash? Dude, that should have been E-League's whole thing. Since all they had was that time slot on a Friday for like an hour or something. It should have only been high-level show matches between whoever the 2 best teams were at the time, and then just give them like 250k for whoever wins it, winner takes all. That would be incredible. Imagine the content you could create around that. Also, because it's 1 and 2 playing in a big money match, 1 and 2 don't always meet in the final. Sometimes 1 and 2 don't even fucking play for like 4 months. You know, they just, like, remember how many times Na'Vi was the team that could have beaten Astralis, but they could never play them because Team Liquid beat them and then lost to Astralis. Like, in that scenario, fuck it. Let's have a Na'Vi versus Astralis game. In fact, you know what? There's even modifiers you can do to make it incredible. Like, what if you made it so it's like Na'Vi Astralis? I'm doing the old one here. And then it's like, right, we just don't even have Nuke in the pool for it. There we go, let's have some fun. Instead of having Na'Vi having to auto-ban or lose Nuke, maybe I just tell you the maps you're playing. And you know what? I can make it fair. Like, if I make it, like, sorry, Astralis, I've taken something away. So if you win, you get a multiplier. If Na'Vi wins, they just get the... Like, dude, there's a million angles to this. There's so much creativity we could come up with it. Just because the idea is, since already, spoiler, the second we go on LAN, a massive asterisk appears next to all these results and nobody will give a fuck. Why not make it fun? You know,
the other thing that I've pointed out a million times and people are very unhappy about whenever I say that is just, it's just not interesting to watch like a pretty big favorite against another team in a best of 3 in a group stage. Like, it's just, I'm sorry, like the better team will win more often than not when it's a best of 3 as compared to best of 1. It's just not interesting. I'm not really that interested in watching it. However, if you made that a best of 1, I'm probably tuning in for all of them. You know, I might check out halfway through if the big favorite is winning a lot. But if they start down 1-5, I'm all of a sudden interested. I'm not interested in the best of 3 scenario many times because I just think they're going to pull through anyway. So I think that's another scenario where all else equal, I would rather play more, particularly now that things are online and you can kind of go from match to match really quickly. There's no 30-minute delay for setting up computers, etc. I would much rather just play many more best of 1s than I would fewer best of 3s, even if the broadcast hours are the same, which is what the tournament organizers really care about. And I do think that actually gets you more viewership because it's more of a do or die. Every map matters. And we've talked about this a couple of times in the past. If you and I play against each other, a lot of the time I win my map, you win your map, and it comes down to the same third map anyway. A lot of the time, that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that I upset you on your map pick and it goes 2-0 and the fans are robbed of a map where both teams have everything on the line. So I just think I understand why everybody wants best of 3s as a player. Of course you want to play best of 3s.
Course, yeah.
Unless you're the underdog, in which case you prefer best of 1s, unless you're not honest with yourself. But I just think the fans should actually be pushing for best of 1s, and for the point that you made, which is that it's just more entertaining. And, it's ultimately an entertainment product, and the more entertaining you make the product, the more people will tune in to watch, and the more people tune in to watch, the more money there will be in the ecosystem, and the more money there will be in the ecosystem, the better the product will become, because there will be more money to invest in improving the product, which, by the way, has not really changed much in the last couple of years.
Oh.